let me clear this up now. I am hyped for G5, and I'm extremely happy with what little information has been revealed so far. Before they released anything, I tried to imagine what my dream G5 would look like, and honestly, I was stumped. I envisioned a lot of ways G5 could go wrong, and I didn't see any obvious solutions. What we know about G5 makes me think they've already avoided most of those pitfalls. They've exceeded my expectations. I want to love G5 as much as I did G4. So until proven otherwise, I'm going to assume that the creators know what they're doing. I'm going to give G5 the benefit of the doubt, whatever the rest of the internet thinks. However, I am a realist more than an optimist. I understand that G5 might not be as good as G4, and I have a pretty good idea of how they could botch it. In this video, I will be discussing my 3 darkest nightmares for how My Little Pony Generation 5 could go wrong. My deepest, darkest, worst nightmare for the future of My Little Pony is that it will shift to an older target audience. Most likely this would happen as a reaction to the adult fans of G4. In my last video, I discussed in detail why I believe Friendship is Magic is a kids show, despite its older fans, and why that is actually a good thing. Basically, the decisions that make the show marketable to little girls are the same decisions that give G4 a magical charm that won over its adult fans. I fell in love with MLP not despite it being for girls, but because it is for girls. The day My Little Pony caters to an older audience is the day it stops being My Little Pony. The worst case scenario is that the creators actually decide to make it an adult show, and they include adult material like sex, cussing, drug abuse, and gratuitous violence to make more money in that market. Admittedly, this scenario was never very likely, but they don't have to go all the way to ruin MLP. Imagine if they decide to make G5 for a slightly older preteen audience instead. They add more romance and remove some of the filters, allowing a little more mild language and violence. Well, to me, it's already lost its magic. I don't mean to be stingy, but My Little Pony is a little girl's franchise, confound it. Fortunately, as more information has come out, it seems my worst nightmare is not a reality. Some aspects of G5's premise seem a lot darker than G4, but in some ways G5 seems just as childish as ever. We have fun characters, bright colors, and as ever, pastel ponies. The beginning of the synopsis sounds kind of dark, but this section in the middle about an epic adventure and elaborate musical numbers sounds like the same My Little Pony I fell in love with in G4. That brings me to my next nightmare. This is what made it really hard for me to envision a successful G5 before information started coming out. This nightmare and the last one are opposites, but together they cover so much space that they are almost overlapping with no safe zone in between. If MLP did not change itself to target an older audience, my next fear was that G5 would be too similar to G4. What Lauren Faust started in 2010 was lightning in a bottle. Why mess with success, right? G5 could have been a repeat of G4 with a similar animation style targeted to the same audience with similar characters and the same style of storytelling. Why is this a nightmare? Well, have you ever been to a movie theater, looked at the list of movies playing, and realized, oh Celestia, every single one of these can draw its origins to the 1980s or earlier? There has been a serious lack of creativity in film and television over the last few decades. Admittedly, My Little Pony can draw its origins to the 80s, but G4 created something new. Lauren Faust envisioned a My Little Pony like no My Little Pony before it. I cherish that creativity. If G5 has nothing new to offer, why should it exist? G4 had a very long run, and it ended on a satisfying note. I really don't need more of the same. I want something new. When that Kids Screen article announced that G5 would take place in the same world as G4, I was a little nervous at first, but it seems like they're making that decision for the right reasons. There's a lot of potential for expansive world building here, starting with the foundation of G4 and building up. Sunny's bedroom showcases this perfectly. They've incorporated the lore of G4 in a clever way by making Sunny a fan of the main 6 in Celestia, but they've also added new and, more importantly, hoof-friendly technology. That shows they're thinking about how a pony world would really work. and how the world of G5 has evolved from the world we left at the end of G4. The first two sentences of the synopsis are key to debunking this nightmare. The pony world of Equestria has lost its magic. Friendship and harmony have been replaced by paranoia and mistrust, and ponies now live separated by species. That is a really different world than what we saw in G4, and that difference will have a huge impact on the story and the characters. G5 will be different from G4, but it looks like it hasn't departed so far that it's lost sight of what made My Little Pony so great in the first place. They're cleverly striding the line between my two nightmares, which gives me a lot of hope that the creators know what they're doing. What they've showed us so far is better than anything I could have imagined myself, and that's coming from a stallion with a lot of pride and a lot of writing experience. But I have one more nightmare: the Disneyfication of My Little Pony. I know there are a lot of Disney fans in the MLP fanbase, so let me explain myself. The worst case scenario with this nightmare is that Disney actually buys Hasbro, or maybe buys the rights to the My Little Pony franchise. Then they do to My Little Pony what they did to Star Wars. Whether you're a Disney fan or not, you cannot with sound logic deny that the new Star Wars trilogy was terrible. I'm not here to make a video about Star Wars, but in my eyes, episodes 7, 8, and 9 were textbook examples of how to ruin a franchise. My nightmare is that Disney acquires My Little Pony and throws continuity and world building out the window, instead pandering to the fans with throwbacks to the brand's heyday, and changing the style of every season because of backlash in the last season, resulting in a broken continuity where the latest season undoes everything that came before it. Now, Disney isn't always as bad as they were in Star Wars, but I personally don't like most of their movies, excluding some of the Marvel movies. Of the movies that are truly originally Disney, they're hit or miss. A few of them are really genius, but a lot of them are just dull. They're often extremely predictable, the characters feel like plastic, and the songs feel weirdly out of place at times. That might just be my opinion, but here's a fact. MLP G4 had an identity distinct from Disney. They're both children's animations, and they both have songs and princesses, but the similarities stop there. Friendship is Magic was unique. It had an identity no pony had seen before, which is why it exploded across the internet in the early 2010s. Am I afraid this nightmare could become a reality? So far, yes. I don't think it's very likely that Disney will buy My Little Pony or Hasbro as a whole. In any case, it would be too late for them to have a big input on the new movie unless they push the date back to fix it. But Disney and Hasbro have collaborated before. Disney has never had an input on a Hasbro franchise script before, that I'm aware of, but that could change with the announcement that Court Lane will be the executive producer for the series, who has been running Marvel's animated series for about a decade. At first, I was excited by this news. First, only real men appear in front of a camera wearing pony ears, a unicorn horn, and an MLP G1 t-shirt. Second, it was comforting to know that some pony with impressive credentials would be working on G5. But Dr. Wolf pointed out that Court Lane was employed by Disney for the last decade, and speculated if this could mean Disney and Hasbro are somehow collaborating on G5. I'm not sure this is the case, but even if it isn't, Court Lane will be bringing a decade of Disney experience to his leadership position. It's almost impossible that some Disney influence won't appear in the G5 series. That is the most realistic incarnation of this nightmare. Even if Disney has no connection to MLP G5 whatsoever, there will undoubtedly be some level of influence. Disney is the premier brand in children's animation. It is the gold standard. Every children's franchise is influenced by them to some extent. And what worries me most is I can see that influence in what we have of G5. Obviously, the animation is similar. Let me make clear, Disney did not invent 3D animation. They don't have a copyright on this style. But the similarities to a Disney movie are undeniable. But however similar it looks to Disney, it looks good! I actually don't like the animation style Disney uses in a lot of their movies, say Frozen as an example. The colors are so unrealistically bright that it hurts my eyes, and the characters' faces are so out of proportion that they don't look human. They're trying to be cute, but they don't quite make it. But those same weaknesses become strengths in My Little Pony. The colors are supposed to be bright in a show about pastel ponies and rainbow lasers, and Sunny and Izzy are 100 times cuter than Anna and Moana will ever be. So the similarity in animation doesn't really concern me. What is far more disturbing, and this is really my only reservation with G5 so far, is this one line from the synopsis: the world's cutest flying Pomeranian. Having a cute, quirky animal sidekick is a staple in Disney movies, but it just doesn't make sense here. First, just by the way it's worded, it sounds like one of those kids movie gimmicks that's trying too hard but isn't really funny, like the Minions in Despicable Me 2. But more importantly, having an animal sidekick makes no sense for My Little Pony as a whole. The franchise is already about anthropomorphized animals. They're already really cute, and a lot of them can fly. This Pomeranian is going to be completely redundant. I feel like the animal sidekick has found its way into My Little Pony simply because Disney does it, and Disney makes a lot of money, so the creators of G5 are trying to emulate them. This makes me fear that other Disney tropes are going to appear in G5, or at least in the movie. If we find out that Sunny has lost one or both parents, the movie has a twist villain, and the story arc follows predictable beats that I've seen in every Disney movie, I'm going to get bored. It won't immediately destroy My Little Pony for me like an adult pony film with an R rating would, but it will slowly ruin the franchise for me. Those are my 3 worst nightmares for G5. What did you think? Are there other ways that G5 could go wrong? Do you disagree with me and think that one of these scenarios would be beneficial? Let me know in the comments. I have been Peace Petal, and whatever fears I have, I am so hyped for G5!